Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun scroll saw project video, we have our first Christmas themed design for 2025. We're getting closer to that magical day of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, my friends. Hopefully you all are looking forward to it out there in the big wide world. I've already got the pattern photocopied to its full size, prepped and attached to our material with clear packing tape, and it's laying on the table saw here in front of me. And the design in question comes from an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Travel Publishing, Fall 2009, issue 36 to be precise. There is the cover. It's got the nice puzzle of the giraffes there and some spooky Halloween designs because this was a fall issue. But just like everyone else, they were eagerly anticipating the Christmas and holiday season by including a beautiful Christmas design in the pages of this awesome magazine. And the design in question we're going to be doing begins on page 61 here. It's not marked, I had to look for it, but it says Fretwork Nativity Cross. Very beautiful, very intricate design here depicting the true and honest meaning of Christmas. Now, I know we can all get caught up in the hustle and bustle, going from here to there, going from there to here, and sometimes it's often overlooked, unfortunately, what the true meaning of Christmas is, and that, of course, is the birth of Jesus Christ. And I felt it would only be appropriate to show some love for the true meaning of Christmas. Now, by no means am I a perfect person, but I try to be the best that I can be and try to improve as I go along in my walk in life, and my walk in my faith and everything. But the beautiful design here is made by Miss Sue May, so thank you for the beautiful design. But it says Fretwork Nativity Cross. Celebrate the birth of Jesus with this detailed cross design, and I really love how they finished it in this visual way here to be featured in the magazine. They have a lighter backer board and they stained or made the scroll work out of darker material, and I think that's a really cool contrast there, especially laying in front of the Christmas tree like they have it depicted here. And I think I'm going to go with this finishing method. We'll see after we get everything cut out completely from start to finish. On the following page is the full-size pattern we photocopied, and it is a 2-page design, so it's rather large. I'm getting ready to hold up the prep design here, but thank you, Miss Sue May, for the beautiful design featured in the magazine. Here is the fully prepped design, and you can see it's a larger than normal design, so please be aware of your pivot point over at the scroll saw, especially if you are like me and you sit down while you scroll saw. That pivot point, when you get to some of these details here and here, you're going to have to be swinging the design around, so you might, in the time-lapse portion, see me lean back, lean forward a little bit to just get the best grasp on the piece, if that makes any sense. But we're going to drill all the pilot holes and bring this project to life. All of this beautiful detail here depicting the true and honest meaning of the Christmas season and holiday will be cut out completely from start to finish over on the scroll saw. Again, the pattern is at its full size and it's attached to our material with clear packing tape, and we're going to go on stack cut and make 2 of them in today's video. I figured with such a beautiful design we might as well go on and stack cut and make multiple of the same design, and also with stack cutting it offers some support to some of those delicate details. Always be aware of that. But a really cool, beautiful, and meaningful project to kick off the Christmas season for 2025. And since everything is pretty much prepped and prepared, let's move the camera over to the workbench so we can drill all the pilot holes required so we can head over to the Rikon scroll saw and start making some sawdust. And over here on the workbench, we're going to take the Seiko Scroller's drill and drill out all other pilot holes for internal cutting. And you'll see that I have a backer board behind the scroll saw work to prevent blowout of the pilot holes on the reverse side. And this project does have a plethora of internal cuts to do over at the scroll saw. And I was as careful as I could be while drilling out all of the pilot holes here, but I still missed a few of them. And this again is why I like having an L-shaped workbench, because while I was sitting at the scroll saw working on the piece, I was able to quickly spin around and drill the few pilot holes that I missed. But now we are over at the Rikon scroll saw, and I am using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade for all the scrolling on this project, and it will cut through both layers of 1/4 inch material here exceptionally well with a minimal chip out. Beginning with some of the central details here, and then we will work our way outwards. And before we switch to the close-up view, I will go to one of the ends to show you how I am pivoting the piece around. Again, this piece is over a foot in height, and the pivot point at the top and bottom of the cross will be drastically different if you use traditional scroll saw blades like I am using here. And you can see that I am kind of leaning back in my chair there to achieve the cut and following the cut line to the best of my abilities. But pretty soon we'll be switching to a closer view to give you all a better perspective of the scroll saw process. Got all of those bottom details done there. And again, because of the size of the piece, this was as close as I could get the camera to the action, so to speak. If you guys would like to try this design, it's available in an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. And before we close the video, I'll once again show that magazine off. But when I seen this design when I was going through the older issues, I knew that I would want to make it and bring it to life visually, because it tells the very true meaning of the Christmas season and holiday, and that of course is the greatest story ever told, being the birth of Jesus Christ, the true meaning of the season. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. We are now releasing the two crosses from the waste wood, doing the final long outside perimeter cut, but not all of the scroll saw work will be complete. Again, just taking my time and letting the blade do the work here. And over at the workbench, we'll separate the two pieces carefully. And we have two beautiful fretwork nativity crosses cut out of 1/4 inch material. And now it'll be time for sanding with 180 grit Klingspor Woodworking Shop sandpaper in the vibrating palm sander, and I'll sand very carefully the front and back side of the piece with very small circular motions. But as I said, I wanted to finish the design how it was featured in the magazine, so we are going to stain the scroll work here a very dark shade of Minwax wood stain. And this darker shade that I like to use really makes grain textures pop in lighter shades of material once you wipe off the excess, but it is very goopy the way it is, if that makes sense. And I had to switch to a finer sponge brush to get it down into all of the nooks and crannies. But after I was happy with everything, I wiped off all of the excess and hung it on a hook to dry. And after it dried, we're going to glue it to the backer board here with medium grade CA glue and activator. And the backer board is a thin piece of upcycled construction grade plywood that a family member gave me. And I'll use strips of wood and spring clamps here. The strips of wood help apply pressure to those center details. And I'll let it sit and cure for around 5 minutes after spraying it with the activator. And then I will come back and I will remove the clamps and the strips of wood. And we'll go back to the scroll saw for the final time and do the final bit of scroll saw work on this project. Still using that same number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade. But we will go right back to the stain to stain the perimeter here. That's why I still have the gloves on there. But I'll do a little bit of touch-up sanding with a Klingspor Woodworking Shop sanding sponge, and then we'll stain the perimeter to give it the illusion that it's one single piece of material and not two pieces glued together. And we'll also stain the back here and wipe off the excess again and allow it to dry. And once it was dry, it was time for a finish. And for finishing, I gave it a few coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And when that dried, the Fretwork Nativity Cross was complete. And here we have the completed fretwork Nativity cross, cut out completely from start to finish over at the scroll saw. Once again, showing off the scroll saw's versatility for beautiful and creative design. Once again, it celebrates the true and honest meaning of the Christmas season. It has some beautiful and very crisp details in it, and the more you look at it, the more details emerge in this beautiful fretwork Nativity cross. I want to once again thank Miss Sue May for the beautiful and elegant design featured in an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. I'll once again hold that magazine up as we get ready to close the video here, and you can see the magazine again. But it took me around 2.5 hours to scroll everything out completely from start to finish. There is some delicate details in this project, as you can see here on the close-up. But again, the more you look at this project, the more details emerge, and you can see how everything is encapsulated in the shape of a beautiful cross for the Christmas season. Of course, in the center of the cross, you have Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus. You have the stars in the night sky guiding the three wise men that are depicted in the pattern to the newborn king. You have an angel on each side, and they are symmetrical, so they are mirror images of each other, so that's a nice featured detail there. You have the animals here, the camel, the palm tree, and then some more animals down here to represent the nativity stable yard and everything depicted in the greatest story ever told in the Bible, again, the birth of Jesus. And again, my friends, I always try to be upfront with you guys. I am not a perfect person in any way, shape, or form. I still make mistakes. I am a human being, and I'm going through my walk in life just like all of you guys are going through your walks in life out in the big wide world that we live in, and hopefully that makes sense. But I'm really happy with how this project finished up, and when you see the magazine here in a moment when I hold it up again, you guys will see that I finished it as intended, like the magazine depicted in their visual representation of the finished design. And I'd never done a design like this to my knowledge. I had never done the scroll work a darker shade and left the backer board natural, but now that I see it in a visual aspect out here in reality in the workshop, so to speak, I think it is a beautiful way to finish designs. But again, there's always options and versatility here. I'm going to talk about how I finished it, and then we're going to talk about different ways to either make it, create it, and finish it, if that makes any sense. But I finished the main bulk of the scroll saw work. After it was all cut out at the scroll saw, I finished it with a very dark Minwax wood stain. And after that hung on a hook and dried out here in the workshop, we prepped a scrap piece of construction grade plywood that a family member had given me, and I sanded it up nice and smooth off camera while the scroll saw work was drying. Then we glued the two pieces together with medium grade CA glue and activator. And the reason I use the strips of wood during the glue up process on some scroll saw projects is that allows pressure to be added to these center details to allow them to go down onto the backer board and grasp them during the drying process. And then we removed the clamps, and then it was time to head back over to the scroll saw for the final time, and we done a flush cut all the way around the perimeter of the cross here. And when we done that, it left the lighter shade of the plywood exposed here, so we went back to the Minwax wood stain for a final time, and we stained the border and the back of the cross with that same dark shade of Minwax wood stain. And I believe when you do that, it kind of gives the visual that this is one uniform piece of wood and not two pieces that are glued together. People will pick it up or look at it and be like, hey, how did you gouge out all of that detail? And then you can start talking about it, and that opens a whole conversation on making and creating scroll saw projects. Speaking of scroll saw projects, options and versatility for a finished design, I believe you could go above and beyond with this. If you're not comfortable cutting out all of those small details like we have here in today's video, you could of course just cut out some of the details and it would still be an elegant design. I think you could just cut out Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus here and leave everything else blank and go in with craft paints if you wanted to and paint some details on it. That would be a cool thing. You could cut out Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus and the star at the top and the angels on the side, and maybe if you have access to a laser engraver, not cut out the bottom details but engrave some nice scripture here at the bottom. So always options and versatility. And again, this one was cut out of 1/4 inch material, but I believe if you would cut it out of thicker material, keep in mind we stack cut 2 pieces of 1/4 inch material, and I have another one here that's not even finished or sanded or anything, that I can finish behind the scenes, behind the camera, so to speak, or I can pass it along to a fellow woodworker and maker, and they can finish it in their own unique way out in their garage or workshop. And those 2 stacked layers, as I just said, took me around 2.5 hours to scroll out completely from start to finish. But if you would cut this out of thicker material, keep in mind, thicker material with all of the detail, it'd be that much more of a slower cut. So you need to, of course, take your time and let the blade do the work. But I feel like if you cut it out of thicker material and you cut out all the details, you could then go in with epoxies and colored resins and fill it up and make it have a simulated stained glass appearance like you see in a lot of churches and cathedrals and everything. And also I feel like if you cut it out of thicker material, you could not cut out this rounded edge here at the bottom. You could cut it flat and add a base to it and maybe put a candle on either side of it. So I always encourage people to think outside of the box when they approach each and every scroll saw woodworking pattern and design they come across. But we finished it ultimately with a few coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss, and you can see how it shines there in the lights of the workshop. Nice glossy appearance. It's still tacky in a few places. I've got to be careful with how I handle it. During this time of year when it's cooler, it takes longer and longer for the paint stains and clear coats to dry out here in the workshop. But I hope in some way, shape, or form you guys picked up a tip, trick, or tidbit on how to make a beautiful and intricate fretwork nativity cross like we have here. Once again, here is the magazine it was featured in, and here is their visual representation, and here is the one that we made in today's video. Again, with stack cutting, we have another one to finish off camera or pass along to a fellow woodworker. But here is the article. It says, again, Fretwork Nativity Cross. And on the following page, you have the full-size pattern here that we photocopied, and it's a 2-page pattern, so you will need to cut along the dotted line and attach the pattern to the best of your abilities out in your workshop. And it also says that Sue made, once again, thank you, Sue, for a beautiful and intricate scroll saw pattern. She also has a Noah's Ark themed puzzle cross, right here that you can download and try. And it says at the time of this magazine's release, you can get it at her website at scrollsawartist.com. Keep in mind, this magazine was released all the way back in fall of 2009, and it's issue 36 for those curious, and there is the cover. But once again, beautiful designs featured in those older issues and even the newer issues of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. But I hope that this project today that we did on video shows that with a little bit of time, practice, patience, and effort over at the scroll saw, a beautiful and meaningful design will emerge out of the material. Once again, celebrating the greatest story ever told in the true meaning of the Christmas season and holiday. Merry Christmas to all my family, friends, followers, and subscribers. Got a lot of beautiful designs to make and bring to life yet over here this year, and I hope you all continue to stay tuned. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you guys. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.